My name is Eric Mandat, and I'm the clarinet professor here at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. And today I'm going to be playing and talking about ILMEA Senior Concert Etude Lyrical Cycle 2 for bass clarinet, which I composed. All of my ILMEA Cycle 2 etudes have titles. This one is called Dark Winds. I believe the titles can give the performers some insight into the mood and character of the piece and help inform their musical choices. The technical focal points for this etude, Dark Winds, are rhythmic accuracy between eighths and triplets and smoothness across the register. The large scale form is a two-part form. There's a big first A section from measures 1 to 9 that's divided into 3 small sections, measures 1 to 2, measure 3 to 4, and then measures 5 to 6, which are kind of repeated again in 7 through 9. And then the second part, the return to the original material, is starts at measure 10 and goes to the end. It also has subsections. First subsection, measure 10 and 11, then measures 12 and 13, and then the last from 14 to the end. You can divide this music up into smaller sections for practice purposes, and always use the metronome, especially when you've got these rhythmic components of going back and forth between duple and triple feel, regular eighth notes and triplets. Okay, now about the mood. Underneath the tempo marking, it says Misterioso. Well, what does that mean? What are you going to do to play Misterioso? So you want to think about that. Since you know the title is Dark Winds, what do you think of when you're envisioning dark winds? And then underneath Misterioso, there's another term, poco rubato. That means with a little bit of flexibility rhythmically. Oh, wait a minute. We're supposed to be playing accurately rhythmically. How can we play with a little rubato and yet keep rhythmic integrity? So that's something you also want to think about as you're working on this. As we look at this, the places where you're crossing the register they're not wide leaps. You're going from A or B flat, maybe up to D or C. So you can prepare these notes in the upper register by getting your right hand down before you actually play them. So in measure 2, for example, I'm going to go to measure 2, but I'm going to put my right hand down as I'm playing the A and B flat at the beginning of measure 2. That's going to help a little bit. The other Another thing that helps a lot is your position of your index finger. The farther up your index finger goes to play A or B flat, the more it has to travel to get down and cover that little tiny hole there. And if you miss, you're going to hear it in the sound. So you want to not go very far onto that A key with your index finger so that it's going to be an easy motion to get back to covering that hole when you go across the breaker. You want to stay very close to that key with the hole. Then, musically, we notice that all of our chromatics are generally lower neighbor notes. So that happens all the way through, except at the very end, measure 14, where we have accents. The music suddenly moves to an upper neighbor, E flat, which is the upper neighbor to the concert D in D minor. So this is the climax moment of the etude and where your energy should reflect it. It says, and the music boldly. So it's going to be the place where you play with the most amount of energy. You're going to give extra air bursts to every one of those accented notes. To help drive that energy forward and give you that big arpeggio up to the high A before your final resolution back down. One other place where you can do some personal interpretation is by noticing all of the notes in the piece that have a tenuto mark on them. If you notice the places where there's a rest after the tenuto mark, that's measure 2 and measure 4 and measure 6, for example, those places have a tenuto mark over them. There's one place where there's an 8th note before a rest that does not have a tenuto on it. So you want to look for that spot and figure out what that's going to mean for the music. Also, you notice there are a couple of places where you have staccatos on 8th notes at the end of segments. Staccato doesn't mean short when you're playing slow music. It means, technically, it means half the length. Just as a dot adds half the value of the note when you see the dot after a note, when you see a dot on the note, that means it shortens that note, technically, by half. So those 8th notes become 16th notes with a 16th note rest. Well, why not just write them that way? Well, it creates more visual clutter, and we want the music to feel like it's flowing, so we can put the dot there and not have to worry about messy 16th rests. And that's a big difference. And so most of these other tenuto places, we want to have a nice taper, and we want to taper out our phrases everywhere, anyway, throughout this piece. And there's a wide dynamic range. Keep working to expand your dynamic range as much as possible. Not just feel it, but make sure that other people hear it. It's a good time to record yourself and listen back, and then you'll know. All of my ILMEA Cycle 2 etudes have study guides that I've created, and at the junior level, there are also some practice exercises, preliminary exercises. These are all available for me. All you have to do is send me an email to emandat@siu.edu, and I'll send out the study guides for you, and you can learn more about my compositional approach and my thoughts about technical things to think about in each of these etudes. Thank you so much for watching.